The cornfields of Dawson County are always strangely silent. No birds, no insects, just the wind whistling through the paper-dry corn leaves. People who live here are used to that silence. But there are things hidden in the silence, as if the earth beneath your feet is still breathing. And if you bend down, you can hear it whispering something. I started my irrigation maintenance job in 2011. The work is lonely, walking through dozens of fields, checking underground pump stations and pipes that run deep underground. Most of the stations look the same: old corrugated iron buildings, the smell of oil, water, and clay. But Pump Station 12 is different. No one on the team wants to be in charge of that station. The manager just says, "If you have to go, be sure to leave before dark." I thought they were just superstitious, until the first day I got there. Pumping Station 12 was on the eastern edge of a field that stretched over 200 acres. The road leading in was narrow and overgrown with weeds, as if no one had driven through it in years. When I arrived, the sun was low, the last rays of light filtering through the cornfields, making them look like a sea of yellow. The wind was strong, and each corn leaf rustled like 1,000 tiny voices. The corrugated iron building that housed the pumping station was nestled in the middle of the field, twisted with rust. I stepped inside, ducking to avoid the loose corrugated iron. It was darker than I expected. The air was thick with the smell of metal, damp and cold. An old pump stood in the middle of the room, its water pipe snaking underground like a giant steel snake. I opened the electrical box and turned off the main power. As soon as the switch clicked, I heard a breathing sound. It came from the pipe, clearly. Not steam, not a leak, but real breathing. Slow, long, and wet. I bent down, shining the flashlight into the mouth of the pipe. The light only reflected off the black water, rippling slightly as if something were right below. Then the breathing stopped. Instead, there was a rustling sound, as if someone was crawling along the pipe. I backed away, my heart pounding. Outside, the wind changed direction. The corn plants leaned toward the station, all at once as if being sucked in. I quickly closed the electrical box cover, turned the power back on, and almost ran away. Before I left, I heard a small voice echoing from underground. A hoarse, watery voice, like through an iron pipe. "It's time." I couldn't sleep that night. The sound still lingered in my head. The next morning, I told the manager. He just shrugged, poured coffee, and said, "Pump 12. In 1996, a kid named Evan Marlin fell into a technical hole while testing the water. The police searched for 2 weeks, but couldn't find his body. They found only shoes and a jacket stuck in the main pipe. Since then, that station has had problems. When it was shut down early, people heard someone in the pipes." I smiled awkwardly. He didn't believe it. But when I drove past that area the next night, my car radio suddenly became noisy. A crackling sound mixed with something like someone speaking underwater. "It's time." I turned off the engine, my heart pounding, and drove away from the field. A week later, I was forced to return to finish the pressure report. The sky was overcast, thick clouds, no wind. The air was heavy. The cornfield was dead silent, as if the whole world was holding its breath. The pump station door was already open, even though I had locked it the last time. Inside, the leaking water streaked the floor. The pressure gauge jumped up and down wildly, even though the machine wasn't turned on. I bent down to look. The fishy smell was clear, like rusted iron mixed with blood. I turned on the flashlight. The surface of the water in the tube suddenly bubbled. Then a small hand, wet, pale, full of tears, emerged from the mouth of the tube. It grabbed the edge of the steel, slid, leaving a dark red slime trail. I didn't have time to react. The flashlight flickered, then went out. In the darkness, the breathing returned, closer, more urgent. and then the sound of steel strings being stretched, like someone was plucking piano strings. I backed up against the wall. A whisper came from underground. 3 more hours. I ran away from there, stumbling in the cornfield, the wind whistling in my ears as if someone was laughing. I asked for a transfer the next day. The manager didn't ask why. He just nodded. "You'd better go before the rainy season." A few months later, I heard that pumping station number 12 was sealed off because of sinks. But inside information said, when they dug it up, they found a dented section of pipe filled with mud, hair, and pieces of cloth. No one dared to confirm it officially. 3 years later, I left Nebraska. I worked in another state for a civil engineering company. Everything was fine until one day, I went to inspect a new irrigation area in Kansas. The pumping station there had just been installed. The system was working perfectly, but when I turned off the power to take readings, in a moment of absolute silence, I heard a familiar sound, very small, very deep in the pipe. The sound of breathing, and then a hoarse, distorted, water-choked voice. "It's time." I dropped the clipboard on the cement floor. On the page of my notes, a drop of water fell from the ceiling, spreading in a dark circle. It dissolved like diluted blood. I left the construction site that day, never to return. Sometimes on windy nights, I still dream that I am standing in a Nebraska cornfield, the leaves rustling like 1,000 whispering voices, and somewhere underfoot, through the wet soil, someone is breathing softly, waiting for me to bend down and listen. It's time. Not the voice of a living person, but not quite the voice of a dead person either. I used to think the cornfields were the safest place on earth. Not the city, not the forest, but those towering rows of corn where the wind was steady, the ground was flat, and everything was orderly. But what I learned at Field 47 was, the land had its no-man's land zones. The company I worked for, Agritrack Systems, tested satellite signals for autonomous tractors. My job was to go to each farm site, calibrate the GPS system to make sure the tractors were moving accurately to the centimeter. In 2014, we were hired to survey an old property in Kossuth County, Iowa, an area called Field 47. I remember that morning. The wind carried the scent of damp soil and the smell of compost left over from the previous crop. It was foggy, and the sunlight was cut into tiny pieces by the trembling corn leaves. Everything was fine, until our navigator started losing signal. At first, it was just a few small dots of static on the screen. Then the entire area near the center of the field, a 400-meter radius, lost connection completely. No GPS, no rádio, no 4G. All the devices shut down simultaneously, as if someone had pulled a power cord out of the sky. The company sent me and another technician, Aaron Pike, to verify the error. Aaron was a quick-witted, talkative guy who believed that every problem had a technological solution. I, then 39, just wanted to get the job done and go home. We left the headquarters at 5 a.m., carrying a mobile signal logger, a magnetometer, and 2 drones. The road leading into Field 47 had all but disappeared into the sea of yellow corn. The cornfield was so quiet we could hear the engine sputtering, the wind blowing across the windshield. It felt strange. The sound wasn't carried far, but swallowed, as if something were sucking it all in. We stopped at the edge of the field. Aaron turned on the first drone to scan the area. The drone flew less than 50 meters before the signal cut out. The screen went black. He laughed. It must be a bad battery, but I knew it wasn't. As he readied the second drone, my phone lost signal. Not only did it lose signal, but the clock stopped. We looked at each other. No one said a word, but we both knew something was very wrong. The deeper we went, the softer the ground became. We began to sink a little with each step. A metallic smell hung in the air, the familiar smell of rust, but colder and damper. Aaron took out his meter and shook his head. There's no magnetic field, but there's a very low vibration, like an electric current in the ground. He knelt down and touched the ground, and then I heard a low hum. Not wind, not machinery, but the sound of a human voice muffled through the dirt. I thought I'd misheard, until Aaron looked up, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. "Like a radio?" He whispered. "No, like someone. Down there." We marked the spot, then circled the area. The corn paths curved and crisscrossed. I remember looking at my watch. It was still at 9:23. We'd only been walking about 10 minutes, but the sky had already changed. The light around us was dimmer, as if covered in smoke. Aaron called to me, "David, come here and look at this." He stood in the middle of the hollow where the corn hadn't grown. Under his feet was a circle of dark, almost black, earth so soft that when he stomped, the mud rose up like water. I moved forward, shining my flashlight. Under the mud, there seemed to be shiny metal or water reflecting off it. I crouched lower. What I heard next almost stopped my heart. A human voice, a distorted, hoarse voice, reverberated from the ground. "It's time." I jerked upright, turning to look at Aaron. He opened his mouth to say something, but at the same time, the ground beneath him gave way. No bang, no wind, just a deep, guttural thud. He disappeared before my eyes. I ran forward, shouting. No answer. There was only a black, circular hole, about a meter in diameter, bottomless. The mud around it was still bubbling, making a soft gurgling sound. I knelt down, my hands shaking, trying to look down. I saw nothing, no light, just darkness as deep as water. Then suddenly, the radio in my backpack turned on. A crackling, flickering voice uttered 3 words. "Still here." I threw the radio away, stood up, and ran through the cornfield, my mind blank. No direction, no GPS, no light, just the sound of corn whipping at me, and my own breathing. I was found by the rescue team that evening, nearly 2 miles from the truck. When they reached Field 47, the hole was gone. The ground was flat, no trace left. There was only a circle of dark soil, and the magnetic interference was so strong that the compass spun like crazy. The police concluded Aaron had gone missing during the investigation. No body, no equipment, no trace. The report read, "Accident on the job." The company asked me to take leave. They locked down the entire Field 47, posted a deed signal zone sign. But 3 days later, I got a call with no number. The other end of the line was static, and a hoarse, choked voice repeating, "David, don't go down." I threw the phone. When I turned it back on, there was no call history, no logs, no GPS data. I returned to Field 47 one last time, carrying only Aaron's broken radio. The cornfield was cut bare. The earth was dry and cracked. The air was cold and dry and still. On the ground, I saw small, regular circular tracks like tracks, but they didn't lead anywhere. They just circled around a point, ending in 2 handprints in the mud, pointing down. I stood there staring for 10 minutes, until I realized the mud was still wet in that spot, even though it had been dry for days. And when the wind blew, I heard a faint sound from the ground. It wasn't a voice anymore, but a steady metallic click, 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 click. 1, 2, 3, then it stopped. It sounded like someone was typing in Morse code, but not from the ground. I left in silence. A year later, I moved out of Iowa. Field 47 was fenced off, no longer appearing on public satellite maps. They said it was contaminated with chemicals, but I knew the real reason was different. Last month, I saw the news a group of college students had flown a drone over the area. The drone lost signal and crashed. When they played back the final video, a blurry circle of black dirt in the middle of a field of gold was visible, and in the middle, something rose up. No face, no shape, just a wet silhouette, head bowed, long arms touching the ground. I couldn't sleep that night. I turned on Aaron's old radio. Even though the battery had long since died, the power light suddenly turned on. From the speaker came a buzzing sound, then breathing, very softly, but I heard it. "David, there is one person." I turned off the radio. The wind outside picked up, the windows rattling. In that quiet moment, I heard footsteps slowly walking around the house, not heavy, but light and wet, like someone walking barefoot on mud. I knew I had carried that thing with me, since Field 47 had swallowed Aaron. And sometimes, in my dreams, I still saw the endless cornfield, in the middle of which was a circle of black earth that widened every time I closed my eyes. Still here. I've been driving a combine for more than 15 years. The job isn't anything special, just long nights, the steady hum of the engine, and the strong smell of dry earth all around me. But if you ask me what made me never pass Field 14 again, I'd say, the night I saw a light moving in the fog. Not car lights, not people, just walking light. In the fall of 2018, Nebraska was drier than usual. We harvested late because of a storm. The ground was hard, the corn stalks heavy, and the combine worked all night to keep up. I drove a Case IH 7088, an old but reliable model. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended around 5 a.m. That night I was assigned to Field 14, the furthest area, on the edge of the woods. From the main road, you had to go through red dirt. No lights, no cell phone reception. They say Field 14 used to be Wayland land, abandoned after a disappearance in 1999. The two brothers disappeared during the harvest night, leaving only the open truck in the middle of the field. The police found nothing but a lit flashlight, stuck in the ground. I never believed such stories. For me, land is land. Fields are fields. Just remember the wind, keep your speed, and look at the corn rows. That night, when I arrived, the fog was so thick that the headlights could only see about 10 feet. The wind was blowing gently, but the fog was still thick and dense, like smoke. I turned on the auxiliary lights and let the engine run slowly. The sound of the engine mixed with the sound of the corn harvest to create a familiar rhythm. Just like that, I started cutting the first row. Everything went smoothly. The clock read 11:42. I paused for a few minutes to check the blade, and when I stepped onto the ground, all sound disappeared. No more engine noisy, no wind, no insects. Just absolute silence. I tried to say something, hello, only to hear my voice echo through the mist, distorted. The sound did not carry far but was absorbed, as if swallowed into the void. I bent down, turned on the flashlight, and looked around. From the ground, mist rose in small, slow-spinning columns, and further away, in the middle of the field, there was a faint yellow light. It drifted, slow, steady, about 1.5 meters above the ground. I thought it was another truck's headlights, so I turned on my headlights and flashed them twice. No response. The light just drifted to the right, then stopped. I walked toward it about 10 meters. The mist was so thick I could no longer see the corn stalks. Only the yellow light ahead, flickering like a candle in water. As I approached, it retreated. Not quickly, not jerkily, just slowly, as if it knew I was watching. I stopped. It stopped. I walked. It retreated. It went on like that for a few minutes. I turned on the radio to call my colleague. No signal. Just a static noise mixed with a strange sound like metal rubbing against metal. Then the radio picked up a very small voice. "Don't look at it." He stood still. The flashlight in my hand flickered, then went out. When the light disappeared, the whole field lit up. Not a bright light, but a light that spread from the ground. Yellow, pale, dim, as if reflected in water. The corn plants around me lit up from their roots, and in that moment, I could clearly see human figures between the rows of trees. No movement, no facial features, just tall, thin shadows, standing still, each one a few meters away. Hundreds of them. I didn't hear footsteps, only breathing, light, long, and in sync. When I regained my composure, I turned the key, pressed the accelerator. The engine wouldn't start. The dashboard light blinked. The fuel gauge circled and stopped at 0. The only sound was a very light scratching on the corn bin, as if someone was running a fingernail along the metal. I opened the cabin door, shouted, "Who's there?" No one answered. Just a cold breath on my face. The smell of metal mixed with damp earth. Then I heard wind, but not real wind. It was blowing from below the field. I jumped down, stepped on something slippery. When I shined the light, it was a rubber hand, the kind used in factories, covered in black dirt. I bent down and picked it up. It was cold inside. There was a faint W engraved on the wrist. Whalen, I thought. The name of the old landowner. When I looked up, the golden spot was there again. But this time, it was right in front of me. So clear that I saw it wasn't a light, it was an object. An old round light bulb. The filament still burning, suspended in midair. No wires, no power source. It glowed faintly, and around it nothing moved. I heard a deep intake of breath. "Not mine." Then a hoarse, breathless voice. "Your turn." I screamed, ran. I didn't know where to run, just ran straight through the field. Corn hitting my face. The fog was thick. Behind me, I heard something dragging on the ground, not fast, but steady. The sound of metal scraping mixed with whispers. I turned around, the biggest mistake of my life. The light was following me, skimming the ground, neither fast nor slow, and in that dim light, I saw a human face, pale, mouth wide open, eyes hollow as glass. Then it all went out. When I opened my eyes, I was lying in the middle of a field, and it was already morning. My harvester was more than a mile away. The corn around me was broken into perfect circles. On the ground, there were clear barefoot prints, small, even, pointing toward the center. I went back to the station and told him what had happened. The manager just looked at me and said, "You weren't the first to see the yellow light in that field, but you were the first to get back." The police came and checked the area. Nothing unusual, just a few pieces of charred metal sticking out of the ground. They said it was industrial waste. A month later, Field 14 was closed. No one mentioned it again. I quit in 2019 and went to work in truck maintenance. But sometimes when I passed that area at night, I saw a yellow light moving through the fields in the mist in the distance. Always 5 feet above the ground. Always drifting slowly. Always stopping if I looked directly at it. Last year, a group of students filmed a documentary about the silent land of Nebraska. They asked to interview me. I refused, but they went anyway. 3 of them. Only 2 returned. The other said the camera had captured a moving light in the fog just as I described it. But when I opened the file, the last frame was inside the cab. The harvester was still running, and in the rearview mirror, a face clearly reflected sitting behind the driver's seat. I didn't watch the video. I didn't need to, because every night, in the silence between 2 thunders, I still hear it in the distance, the old, heavy, slow sound of the harvester. Then a faint yellow light appears in the fog. Not car headlights, not people, but moving light,